Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. And today what I'd like to talk about is some things that I miss since my deconstruction, things that I miss now that I'm no longer a Bible-believing, church-going Christian, and there are a few things that I miss, and let's talk about them. The first thing I miss is the community. Every Sunday for 2.5 decades, I would attend church, and for an hour or so, I'd be surrounded by a couple hundred other people who, for that hour, all had the same goal, who were all part of a community, for lack of a better choice of words, whose goal was to worship God. And for that hour, we put aside the social differences, the economic differences, even in some cases the religious differences that we had between us, and we focused on that goal. Also, my involvement with church extended beyond just being there on Sunday mornings. As I mentioned in a previous video, I was involved with the children's ministry and the youth ministry, and with other volunteers. We ministered together and we became friends. We laughed together, we cried together, we prayed together, we shared meals together, and I miss that. Some of the people that I made friends with in those days are still friends with me on Facebook. We don't really stay in contact, but you know, we're Facebook friends, quote unquote. A few have cut me off, not because I'm not a Christian anymore, but because I didn't support Trump, but that's another topic altogether. Another thing that I miss is the music. Now, in my congregation, we did what's called these days praise and worship music. And if you're familiar with modern praise and worship music, you're aware that a lot of it is repetitive, a lot of it is kind of borderline insipid, but nevertheless it moved me. You know, singing things such as "Our God is an Awesome God" or "Greater Things Are Yet to Come in This City," they were meaningful to me. And I hear those songs now and they're just completely devoid of meaning. And to an extent, this also refers to the ancient and majestic hymns. There wasn't a lot of that going on in my congregation, but we did sing them from time to time, and those were extremely meaningful to me too. And there's also the liturgical classical music by like Bach and Handel and all that. And I'm kind of in a mixed bag on that because a lot of it was written in a language that I don't understand. So when I listen to it, it's devoid of any lyrical content. So it still moves me in the same way that any other form of classical music moves me. Another thing that I miss greatly from my day... Oh, I want to go back to the music. Not only praise and worship music, but also contemporary Christian music, like what you'd hear on the radio. And by that I mean, like, well, it's been a decade, so I listened to it, so I'm really not clear on who's popular in CCM now, but New Song, Jars of Clay, all that jazz. I was really into it. And as a teenager, I was really into Christian rock, like Petra, and I was also into both Christian and secular heavy metal. And of course, those days are long gone. I find Christian music largely insufferable. And again, a lot of contemporary Christian music is cheesy and silly, but a lot of it isn't. An example that comes to mind is Rich Mullins, who was a contemporary Christian music artist who died in 1999. I've known musicians who themselves knew Rich Mullins, and they all tell me that Rich Mullins was a maestro. He was a musician's musician. If he were still alive, he'd probably have several Grammys by now. He might already have some. They'd be in the gospel category, of course, or whatever award the Grammys give to that genre of music. If he had done secular music, he'd probably have several Grammys. His musical compositions, his lyrical content, of course I only understood it in a religious framework, but if he did secular music, I'd say he'd probably be comparable to, say, Fleetwood Mac in terms of lyrical content, in terms of instrumental complexity. So yeah, you know, but I can listen to Rich Mullins, but when I hear him, the lyrics are just completely devoid of any context. And he used to move me strongly, and he doesn't anymore, and I miss that. Another thing that I miss now that I'm no longer a Christian is Christmas. Now, I'm fully aware that Christmas has become in these days kind of a secular holiday, or at least it's kind of two holidays at once. There's a Christian holiday that Christians celebrate that, celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ, and then there's the secular holiday that's about, fun music like Walking in a Winter Wonderland or Baby It's Cold Outside, and it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas and all that, and just about gift giving and joy and sharing gifts and all that kind of thing. The problem is, let me go back. There's no law that says that you have to be a Christian to celebrate Christmas, and I know that a lot of people around the world who are agnostics or only culturally Christian or who even celebrate other religions celebrate Christmas in a completely secular sense, and that's fine. You do you. The thing is, for me, for 2.5 decades, Christmas was it was beyond just celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. It was an intensely meaningful holiday, just filled with unfathomable depth and significance. It was more than just the birth of Jesus Christ. It was the God of the universe condescending to come to earth, to be born in a stable in a dusty, insignificant Middle Eastern town and be placed in a feeding trough, and to reveal himself to society's lowest of the low at the time, which was shepherds. And the holiday was just such a powerful thing to me. I would get teared up during the Charlie Brown Christmas special when Linus would call for the spotlight and he would recite the nativity story from Luke chapter 2. Nowadays, that's completely devoid of meaning for me. It means absolutely nothing. Linus's speech is just a indoctrinated kid repeating a passage of fiction that he was taught. It would be no more meaningful than if he was reading a passage from Tom Sawyer. So for that reason, I have kind of a hard time celebrating Christmas as a secular holiday, simply because of all the baggage that's attached to it for me. The last thing that I miss from being a Christian is ghosts. Now, that may seem like kind of a silly thing, so let me clarify what I mean by that. Since I believed in God, and since I believed that, that souls go to either heaven or hell, I didn't really believe in hell, but that's another story entirely, that left open the possibility that there was some version of life after death here on this earth, and that could be manifested as ghosts or spiritual beings. I also believed that Satan was real and that demons were real. Now, I didn't believe, like some Christians do, that there are demons around every corner and that everything that happens is a result of demons and that you have to always be on guard against demons. I didn't believe that. My congregation didn't believe that, but I believed that demons were real. So when I would read or watch, I would watch sightings on the Sci-Fi Network, or I would watch, supposedly real videos of ghosts or whatever, it scared me on more than just a level that a horror movie would. I mean, I still love horror movies to this day, but I loved reading about ghosts, and I loved watching, supposed videos of ghosts. This was before the internet, so I was mostly limited to what would be on TV. And now I realize that it's all just pareidolia or wishful thinking or clever editing. And in a way, non-believing has robbed me of my enjoyment of that. I still watch ghost videos just so I can, watch for how it was manipulated, or watch for, the camera tricks, or so I can point out how it was fake. But I no longer get that spark of interest, for lack of a better choice of words, that I got when I believed. So those are the 4 things that I miss now that I'm no longer a Christian. And at this point, I think now is as good a time as any to talk about how my deconstruction has affected my relationship with my family. It's an unfortunate fact that for a lot of people who deconstruct, it costs them their families. Either their families cut them off, or their families are so toxic that the former believer has to cut off their family. And for me, that is unequivocally, however you pronounce that word, not the case at all. my deconstruction has in no way affected my relationship with my family. They all love me the same as they did before. We all get along just fine. When my brother prays before every meal or busts out his Bible for a sermon about whatever's on his mind, my wife and I just sit there quietly. My mom once and only once expressed disappointment that I was not a believer anymore. She called me an atheist, and I reminded her that I'm not an atheist, and didn't feel like explaining agnosticism to her, so I just changed the subject. And she still kind of obliquely tries to proselytize me from time to time. Like, once a few years ago, she went to see this movie called I Can Only Imagine, and it was based on that song that was popular a while ago, and she's like, oh, you really need to see that movie, it'll change your life. Just kind of low-key stuff like that. But she's largely stopped, and she and I just kind of have a unspoken agreement not to talk about my lack of beliefs. So I'm fortunate in that nothing happened in that regard as far as my family. We're great, we're fine. You know, we've had the same difficulties that all families have for other reasons, but my lack of faith had no part of it. So those are the things that I miss from my days as a Christian. I hope this video has been helpful to you or edifying to you. Like I've said before, you know, my audience isn't believers. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of their faith. My audience is people who have deconstructed or are deconstructed, just to share my experiences and let you know that you're not alone. Please give this video a like and subscribe. Please comment, that helps. And as always, I'm not going to argue with you or debate with you in the comments. If you want to come at me, that's your choice, but you're not going to get a reaction out of me, so do your worst. And in a future video, I'll talk about things from my believing days that I don't miss at all, and there's quite a bit of those too, so I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.